So the question is, can you look at creation and decode and unfold creation and see the whole Bible? I think you can. Have I done it? No. Have I done it in reverse? Yes. I went in reverse and did it. But if you started out at ground zero and you're just plopped down here, let's say you were from another reality and you just plopped down here and you looked around, you see the green grass, see the blue sky, you see the white clouds, see the yellow or white sun. It's a white sun, but it looks yellow in the morning, in the evening, orange, yellow. You can't really, it's white right now, but you can't really look at it unless you look at it through a lens or something. And you see the mud, so that tells you wouldn't just be plopped. So the first thing is, if you just went back to root number one, you wouldn't be just plopped down. You can't just be plopped down here. If your body's clay and dirt goes back, dust to dust, dirt to dirt, clay to clay. If your body's gonna go back to the earth, that means you're not from here. I mean, that means you're from here. You're not from outer space. It's impossible to be not from here, because you're going back to the earth. This is a earthly, fleshly, temporal reality. And so your clay body's earthly, fleshly, temporal, under cycles, under time. Now, let's think about this. So the first thing you would say is, I wasn't just plopped down here. I came from the earth. Now, if I came from the earth, and when I look out in front of me, the earth was taking care of me. I'm just using logic, right? So I look at the earth and I say, well, the earth was here before I showed up, right? But who put the earth here? Who put the earth here? So the earth was put here for man to be able to survive. And you know the earth was put here because with all the storms, with the magnetic field around it, with the clouds, rain, there's seed time and harvest all the time. Has cycles and has seasons. See the sun. So you got seasons. So what do you do when you see the sea? You see the sun. S-O-N. So really, I just answered it myself. The words reveal everything. It goes back to the words. So then you would say, well, wait a minute. Why do I see patterns in words? How am I able to speak? The people around me speak a language, and I'm starting to see patterns in the language. So then you say, wait a minute. Words reveal everything. Words are spirit. And you know words are spirit because they go through this glass. Sound goes through the glass. The phonics, the words, this. And then if you say, well, wait a minute. If words reveal everything, then maybe everything's a word. Then you look at shapes and symbols and the shape of a tree. Why is the tree standing upright? And then you ask yourself, why has a tree outlived the humans around me? And if you think about what man is doing, so there's a tree right there. It's upright. What did man do? He made a pole. He took and made a post. put a sign on the post. Those trees are a sign. Tree, true, faithful faith. Tree, true, faithful faith. That tree is faithful. So the words, you would eventually come to the fact that the words, if you really went back to the root and just forgot everything that you know, you would eventually come back to the words. Words reveal everything. And why would you come to that conclusion? Because God gave man language. God controls the alphabet. God controls the languages. He split the languages up. And so you would have to come to the conclusion that everything is a word. The trees, the grass, the animals, they're all object lessons and they're all words. And you would finally come to the conclusion that the word logos is the source of this whole place. The colors tell a story. The phonics tell a story. The shapes tell a story. The symbols tell a story, and they all tell the story of the cross. Why would the secret societies and the occult be so focused on shapes and symbols and stuff? Because it's a word. Every symbol is a word, has a deeper meaning. So I tried to go back and pretend like I didn't know anything, but you have to speak words. Your society is going to teach you how to speak some words, and even if they don't, you would create your own words. But God wouldn't leave you out there by yourself going like an ape or something. A missionary would show up on the scene, teach you how to speak a language or something. But my point is, even if you were out there in a tribe, you would have your own language. The tribe would have a language. And that language would describe this place. And even if you grew up in a tribe, had your own language, you would have to conclude that without words, it's hard to even function down here. Words reveal everything. And then when you break the words into parts, you break the alphabet into its constituent parts, then you would see the source. What does each letter stand for? So let's say you're a tribe, you'd create a letter for blood, you'd create a letter for water, and the letters would look like the water. And the M would look like the water. The A would look like an altar where they did blood sacrifices, because they would look at the animals. They'd say, okay, that animal. They would sit there and they'd say, that animal had to die that I could live. That plant had to die that I could live. And so they would see something dying to give them life. And so they would have to come to they would be religious, because everybody has the God boy. So they would create these false religions of sacrificial systems, right? To appease the gods, because they would look up and they'd see lightning and thunder. They'd say, I gotta appease the gods, and they'd do these blood sacrifices. And this, eventually, what you would come to the conclusion, if you had enough time to sit down and meditate about it, all the creation points to another realm, a higher truth. A sacrificial redemptive system is what it points to. The gasoline in this car has to vaporize, has to die. The wood, hay, and stubble has to die. The flesh has to die daily. In order to get along down here, you got to die. You got to zip to live sometime. You got to die daily. You got to do something you don't want to do necessarily sometimes. It's a sacrificial, redemptive system. And you would come to that conclusion because the animals and the plants had to die that you might live. You would be hungry. What's weird is when you quit eating sugar, you're not hungry anymore. You're not as hungry. It's wild stuff. I don't get hungry anymore. I eat just for the nutrients. I think I solved the question within 11 minutes because the language that they speak, whoever they are, whatever tribe it is, it would point back to, it would eventually point back to the blood. The baby would come out and they had to have a name for the blood that the baby comes out. It has to be blood, right? Everything makes sense. Everything's been decoded. This is a sacrificial, redemptive system based on the lamb slain before the foundation of the world. If you don't understand what I just did, the thought experiment that I just did, I'm sorry, but it really made sense to me. Because if you just went back to the beginning, you would come to the same conclusion you're at now. The creation code. The heavens declare the glory of God. Even the creation declares the glory of God.